welcome your moderator and her panel, Cristina Cosma, Deputy Head of Unit for Interoperability and Digital Government at DG Digit. Cristina, over to you. Thank you.
Please come, join me. We'll have our panelists. I hope you all had a nice lunch. You're not too tired.
Nope.
And we're going to wake you up with some AI. You're not great, amazing.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
we have. So, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for being here in SEMIC. Thank you for being us. In the last half of the main conference day, it's been quite an exciting 2 days so far, with a lot of workshops yesterday and today in the conference. Quite a lot of animated discussions with AI and sovereignty everywhere and interoperability guiding us all. Now, this afternoon we start with something which has come up time and time again, AI, and how in particular can we boost public sector, public services with AI-driven services, and what role can AI play in building those services? It's a key question for all of us working in public administrations, and we have already built quite strong foundations in Europe on digital government. We are ranking quite high overall, and we have interoperable online services, we have data systems that are there to support them. But with the rise of artificial intelligence, we see that we have emerging challenges on sovereignty, on the use of new technologies. How do we put them together? How do we enter this new phase of digital transformation and at the same time have a secure space and efficient services for our citizens in the end? And so as practitioners, we explore how AI can help us work smarter, how we go from automating processes to improving the documents we have publicly facing to support more informed and data-driven decision-making. There are different aspects we use them. And in short, we want to use AI to do all the things we would like to do ourselves, and we don't have a clone and a second pair of hands most of the time, so there's never enough time. So how do we gather these opportunities? How do we harness them with the responsibilities that also bring along? Because AI has quite a lot of impacts, and meaningful AI adoption means strong governance, means transparency, right democratic safeguards to ensure that we have those systems in place. So the goal is not just to adopt AI because it's a fancy technology, it's a great tool, but how do we make sure it generally serves the public and it doesn't accidentally take initiatives and reorganizes all our data just because it had a bit of free time to optimize. So this is quite a big challenge for all of us, and as public administrations, we can benefit from this AI-first policy. The Commission a few months ago went out with the Apply AI strategy, which complements the AI Continent Action Plan. There's quite a big strand on public sector directly, and we're going to work on it together. And we're trying to see how can we use AI to strengthen also our sovereignty overall. So how do we treat AI not as an isolated tool, but as a strategic asset, which is integrated in our institutions? So there's a lot of aspects that come together when we are discussing how we use AI to build better public services. And we're going to hear today from our panelists to explore how we harness AI in a practical, safe, and meaningful ways, what AI can do, what it should do, and what it absolutely mustn't be left alone to do on a Friday afternoon when everyone has left. So thank you for joining us, and we're going to explore with our panelists today. We have Tadej Gabriel from Slovenia. He's Deputy Director on the Director for Digital Solutions Development and Data Economy in the Ministry of Digital Transformation. We have Oleh Dubno. I hope it's fine. He's the manager of the AI unit in Ukraine's Ministry of Digital Transformation. We have Franck Noël, Director of Access and Reuse of Public Information from the Publications Office in the European Union. And we have Thomas Hildebrandt. He's the Professor of Software Engineering and Head of the Research Section for Software, Data, People and Society at the University of Copenhagen, joining us today. And I'll ask our panelists to introduce themselves, maybe briefly a bit more than just the titles, and speak all of them around the same topic, which is what are the key enablers and challenges you observe in your experience in public administrations or working with public administrations, what they face in adopting AI responsibly. So I'll ask Tadej to start. Please.
Thank you, Cristina. It's a real pleasure to be here in a room full of nice people, inspiring ideas and experiences. So thank you for having me here. To introduce myself, I come from Ministry of Digital Transformation. In Slovenia, it's a quite new ministry. We exist 3 years now. And our role is to help other ministries who are actually responsible for the processes, for the services, and for relations with the citizens to perform better. We ensure some common building blocks, platforms. We stimulate them, guide them with standards and guidelines. So together we achieve progress. We believe it's a good setting. But of course, we would still like to have some more influence to other institutions. So currently in Slovenia, we have in process adopting special digital transformation law, which will give us more power, more levers to influence other ministries, so they will obey our guidelines and recommendations more strictly. We are also responsible for coordination of interoperability in a country and also for common AI building blocks. We have some experience with that, and maybe I can share some of our insights on that topic. We are talking about enablers and challenges. And of course, again, when we are talking about enablers, trust and data must again be mentioned, despite being mentioned many times today. But without trust and data, our success is impossible. Trust, of course, needs to be continuously built and maintained. As a saying goes, trust is a very shy creature. It can be scared away very easily. And sometimes not even because of our own actions. Maybe some external attack comes. Maybe in the future we have some major misuse of AI tools which could be amplified by media, and that could trigger an unwanted wave of public distrust to AI. But let's hope that doesn't happen. As I said, we need trust. So we keep our users and our relevance. And data, of course, even before, data was very critical for effective functioning of public administration, regardless of new technologies coming. But with the AI, data is even more critical. We need high quality data that can be understood and also linked, combined, of course, within legal frameworks and respecting privacy and transparency rules. Compliance with the GDPR, of course, and purpose limitations for personal data is a must. And we believe that we should fight for AI, not to become just another technical hype. We experienced some hypes in the past. For example, we remember blockchain and other hypes. But this time AI seems to be something more useful and sustainable than previous technologies with inflated expectations. And of course, we can expect some new further technologies to come again, maybe quantum, maybe something else. And we will again need to assess their potential impact for public services, because public services are what the citizens judge us for. If we provide good public services, we show good face of administration to the outside world. This perspective of end users is crucial. we don't need technology for its own sake, but for the value it brings. And citizens judge us and our work by that, by the value we bring to them. And we've heard, I think it was yesterday, that many organizations often don't see real benefits from generative AI, at least not yet. It may happen that maybe one part of organization sees some benefits, but this new generative AI can create costs in another part of organization. So we must evaluate overall sum of benefits in the organization. Maybe it's still too early for us to be able to evaluate that. And I must mention an important OECD document titled Governing with the AI. And in that document, OECD very nicely explains that AI can improve productivity, responsiveness, accountability, but only with proper enablers, safeguards. And when we are talking enablers, which are mentioned in that document, they mentioned governance, data, digital infrastructure, skills and talent, purposeful investment, procurement and partnerships. All that can stimulate AI to be used in a proper way. And of course, safeguards like rules, oversight and transparency. And in this document, also risks are nicely explained, and they come in 5 flavors. Like we have ethical risks, operational risks, exclusion risks, public resistance risks, and risks of inaction. We also risk maybe some damage can be done if we don't act at all. And maybe if we are talking about responsible use of AI, we can consider what would be irresponsible. That would also be anything that would undermine the trust. Maybe including unrealistic promises, which can lead to severe disillusionment of users. And the digital skills of users, of citizens, are also essential, including their AI literacy and ability for the safe and responsible use of generative AI. We certainly don't want citizens to begin violating intellectual property, for example, or to increase creating fake news or deep fakes, but instead to use AI tools responsibly. And skills not only for citizens, also for public servants, it's very important. They need to understand AI's potential, its limits, its risks, and the necessary safeguards.
Thank you, Dari.
Thank you.
I think, Thomas, from your perspective, working on research around AI and working with public administrations for such a long time, what do you see, what do you observe in this area? What challenges and opportunities do you see for public administrations that you can advise them on?
Thank you. Yeah, I'm also happy to have been invited to join this panel. I joined SEMIC for the first time a few years ago in Madrid, so it's lovely to see it in Copenhagen. And yeah, I've been working with public sector for 15 years and digitalization. And there has been several waves of different kinds of AI, different kinds of digital technologies. And certainly right now we are, I would say, on the top of a hype peak. There's a lot of opportunities. We have seen a lot of interesting and really good talks yesterday and also today on how we can combine different technologies so we can use the language models to transform this massive amount of text we have, legal text, guidelines, you name it, into something reliable, structured data that we can validate, and then we can query and use in a more efficient way. So there are huge opportunities. In Denmark, we have been very early on, early adopters. We had digital identities, as we heard this morning. We have a high level of trust basically, I think, because we have been good at involving different stakeholders. But of course, and we had digital strategies that people openly could see what is the direction we are following. One danger here is, of course, that you jump too early into some technology race and believe that now the most important thing is to have big language models. While, as we heard this morning from Francesca, it's really an unsustainable technology. It's requiring too many resources that actually creates tension in the world for the minerals in the earth, and also put power in the hands of very few people because you need enormous amounts of money to build these models. And they're not transparent, and as my colleague said in an earlier session, Stefan, today, they're not reliable. So we need to use the right AI and the right technology for the right problems. And here, there are big opportunities in transforming law guidelines into structured text, and then use standard query techniques to query this, and maybe use language models as an interface so we can ask our question in natural language, and then translate that to a query into a reliable model. So there I can say a bit more about our recent project later, where we exactly look at this together with public sector stakeholders and private companies. So I think the big opportunity is that we now have powerful tools.
Yeah.
We can get some structure on the unstructured world, and then the big challenge is to step back and not be too overambitious, and that has been the problem since we invented computers, and also before that, that humans always wants to do a bit more than they can do, and we even have the myth of the Tower of Babel, right? So when you're on the top of a peak of a hype, you should not build a tower. You should find a way to glide to the plateau of productivity, so we don't race to the bottom either. And this is where we have the opportunity, as Francesca also said, to do something different in Europe. So we can try to build open, transparent systems. And remember, as Emilia was saying, generative AI is not the only technology out there. We also have predictive AI. We also know it should not be used on the citizens, perhaps, because it's not ethical to predict citizens' future without asking them. But we can use it to predict our own organization's future and how we handle cases. And then we can also use other, like symbolic AI, which is the knowledge graph representations, and use all these technologies together. And don't forget to have the humans in the loop, because we need to know that we are the only one giving meaning to this data, making it into actually information and knowledge. If you don't do that, it's just data. And then I have to correct that I have old data on my homepage, so I'm not anymore head of this section for software data society and people. I stepped back because now I'm head of a new education in data stewardship that we hope will start in a couple of years, because we really need people who know domain and can build bridge to the data scientists. So that was my point.
Thank you. And Oleh, building on that, your experience from Ukraine.
Thank you very much, Cristina. First of all, I would like to thank the European Commission and the Danish presidency for organizing this conference and discussing such an important topic in this time. Answering your question, I would start that Ukraine is not taking AI as a hype, I would say. It is for us a pragmatic tool to solve the problems of our citizens. Our approach is defined by bold political will and strong digital foundation. What helps us? What are the key enablers? This is partnership and international cooperation. I would start from this point because it is important to state that we have really valuable cooperation with international partnerships with European Union through different EU programs like Digital Europe, Horizon Europe. Your technical assistance has been really vital for our resilience in this hard time. Domestically, we rely on a strong public-private partnership. Many of our governmental products are developed jointly by the Ukrainian IT sector and pool of over 6,000 AI specialists. Also, we have mature, I would say, established digital ecosystem. We solved the registry interoperability challenge. Our system called Trimbita allows secure data exchange between registries, eliminating the data zoo problem. On top of this, we have DIA. This is a state super app used by millions of citizens in Ukraine. And this infrastructure basically allows us to deploy AI services rapidly and directly to our people. Another point is our soft law regulation. We are pursuing a strategy of proactive alignment with the EU AI Act, and we have adopted a bottom-up approach, encouraging companies to implement the European safety and ethical standards voluntarily first. And this allows us to foster a culture of responsible use of AI and prepare our ecosystem for full legal harmonization naturally. It strikes the right balance for us, ensuring safety and trust while maintaining a dynamic environment for innovation. Talking about the key challenges we face, this is of course war and security. As a country at war, we face constant cyber attacks. Therefore, security is our priority. Now we are building a secure AI factory. This is the infrastructure to protect our data to ensure resilience. Of course, we face the challenge of talent outflow. The number of specialists has grown from 5,200 to 6,100 in 2 years, but migration remains a significant challenge for us. Legacy systems. Like many, we deal with legacy data from the 90s. AI needs quality data, and we are working hard to structure digitized archives because, as we know, garbage in, garbage out. Of course, this I believe, the common challenge for all trust and disinformation. In times of war, trust is vital. 40% of people cannot distinguish AI content. To counter propaganda and bias, we are developing our own sovereign large language model. This ensures that we control the training data and keep our information in a safe place. Thank you.
Thank you, Alex. So I think you've inspired quite a lot our audience and Franck from the Commission side, because the Publications Office is a data master for all the institutions, and you have quite a big perspective on what are the challenges and opportunities we have as an institution.
Thank you. So first of all, thank you for having invited me to participate to the roundtable. It's always a pleasure and an honor to contribute to SEMIC. Now, to briefly introduce myself, and I know it's the worst panel because everybody wants to digest, I'm going to use the card. Who knows about Eurlex? Okay, so that's the portal for European law. Who knows about TED? Okay, so that's the public procurement portal. And who knows about the European data portal? Ah, much better. Okay, so they are all managed by colleagues in the directorate I'm managing. So before replying to the core of your question, I'd like to give a few words about the context. First of all, AI is not new, even if the expectations, and there was a boom in expectations came end 2022 with at the end with the first release of ChatGPT. But my point is that it provides new opportunities, and it's not only for improving processes. It's also about building new services, and it's also about boosting our individual productivity. So there are already, to some extent, 3 dimensions into the adoption of AI. And the fourth is the one you put in your question with the word responsibly. It's about also responsibility. Now, all this occurs in a world with rapid change. We heard a lot this morning about geopolitics, about climate change, about, of course, the technology. So it means there are several crises emerging, and our organizations have to adapt very fast. And we have to invent new ways of working, new approaches. So that's the context in which we are operating. So what are the challenges to adopting AI in our organizations? Of course, taking as an example the one I know best, the Commission, and more specifically, Publications Office. To articulate my reply, I will use a classical framework: people, process and governance, and technology. So when it comes to people, there I think we need to distinguish 3 populations: the specialists, the managers, and then public servants at large. It's obvious that we need knowledgeable and skillful AI experts, and there I think the challenge is competition. Because we talk about the adoption in public administration. Okay, everybody wants the experts, including in the private sector. So how do we attract and retain them in our organization? So that's a big challenge, which to some extent is related to the second one, about management. Management needs to nurture a culture of innovation. It means taking risks. It means accepting failures, which should be seen as opportunities to learn. Okay, we all agree, but let's be honest, it's not exactly in the DNA of public administrations. So it means we need to shift the mindset and the culture. And then, of course, all public servants need to be trained and to use these tools that can boost the productivity. But that also means that as individuals, we need to challenge the way we worked, and we've been working for years. And that's, again, a shift in mindset. And while we also want to guarantee confidentiality, security at all stages. So there is also a balance to be found, which is a challenge in itself. The second dimension is process and governance. In fact, the discussions we had this morning and what I hear, it's really like AI seems to be new, but at the end, the discussions are exactly the same as the ones we had when we were labeling digital transformation. And there, maybe we also have to be critical. And have we delivered on the goals we had with trying to digitally transform our organizations? Maybe not totally, because transformation does not mean doing the things we were using to do with new tools, new ways, new fancy technologies. It means rethinking. And that's where the challenge is, rethinking. When it comes to technology, there are three dimensions. First, the speed of evolution, which is not exactly compatible with the way our public organizations are used to operate. So we need to have the time to digest the technology. We don't have the time to digest it. We don't have the time to implement it. And then the new one is already there. So how do we cope with that? Which leads me to the second dimension of the technological challenge, which is the complexity of our ecosystems. We talk about AI as if it would be isolated, but the reality in IT teams is that we have to cope with legacy or information systems with legacy technologies, plus generative AI, plus now agentic AI. Okay, but that's everything at the same time while guaranteeing security, operations, and all that. And the third challenge is, we heard a lot about it, digital sovereignty. And there, for me, I want to see it as the trust we can put in the reliability and sustainability of the technologies we are building our services on. So what are the enablers? The first one, in a way, it's a paradox. I will reuse digital transformation. So we are used to cope with digital transformation. So we know where the hurdles are. So we should take the lessons from there and then apply to the AI bit. For instance, I'm sure we all have innovation schemes in place. So let's build upon that. Then we have an incredible amount of public sector data. They are there. We have to tap into that to build our AI projects, not only to improve processes, but also to build new services. And the last one, also in terms of responsibility, we do have experience. We have already started building explainability notices that should also be the cornerstone of trust of users of our services. And last but not least, solutions exist across Europe. So we have also the solutions to share them and reuse them. That's why we are here today. So the challenge is European. The reply should be European as well.
Thank you, Franck. And on this note, you also mentioned the move from generative AI to agentic. And this is clearly, there are different types of AI. Agentic is the one that is starting slowly to come up in the public discussions we're having around AI. And this idea of the agentic state, it's governments in the age of, well, going beyond generative AI. We move from doing things right to doing the right things. And this is another shift that builds on this challenge of dealing with legacy, dealing with security, having trust built in, having the right skills, using also the tools properly. So all this together, it brings us to the next part of our discussion, and we'll have more now from Oleh, because AI and especially the agentic state idea, you have done an incredible effort in Ukraine in terms of digitalization, even amid the war. So what is your vision in Ukraine about the agentic state, and what are you moving to? What are the key steps you're taking to build it? And I think you have, for us, we'll show you just some supporting info. We'll take the next one. This will be for Thomas just after.
Yeah, I have like short presentation, just a few slides about Ukraine as an agentic state, because as you mentioned about this concept, actually there is a report which has been recently published on the agentic state, you mentioned, and we were actively involved actually in its development, particularly Mikhailo Fedorov, who is the first deputy prime minister in Ukraine and at the same time minister of digital transformation, who contributed to this report with his vision, and together with Lukas Ilves, ex-chief information officer of Estonia, and now the advisor to our minister on AI. Over the past 5 years, I'm not sure if you can see the presentation. It's here.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let's try. Okay.
Great. So basically, over the past 5 years, the Ministry of Digital Transformation has transformed Ukraine into a digital state. We rose from 102nd position to 5th place globally for digital public service. And now we have the new vision. Our goal is to evolve from digital state, which provides online tools, to an agentic state. This means the government interactions become seamless and invisible, facilitated by proactive AI agents. The driver for this is newly established Win-Win AI Center of Excellence in February this year. And this AI COE will be acting as the main engine for government AI integration. What are our priorities? We are executing this vision through concrete products, sovereign infrastructure, and the strategy on AI development. The first track is products and impact. Our DIA ecosystem serves 23 million users in Ukraine. And now we launched DIA AI, the world's first government AI assistant for public services. It acts as an AI agent during interactions with citizens and provides them not only with the information on available services, but also provides them with these public services. For example, in the AI chatbot, you just need to ask for your income paper, and you will receive it immediately. The number of AI agents will continue to grow. Our mission is to rank among top 3 countries globally in AI adoption in the public sector by 2030. Next is MRIA. It is an educational app with the AI tutor creating personalized learning paths for children. Also, talking about internal ministry efficiency, the goal is not just to use AI, but to solve real problems in governmental operations. The ministry has currently implemented around 10 AI tools for document analysis, citizen communication, and other purposes. AI now handles 85% of citizen support inquiries, solving our physical capacity issues. For example, legal review of the draft legal acts in our ministry that took weeks are now done in 72 hours. We are also building a tool to analyze European legislation in order to accelerate our European Union integration. Talking about our second priority, sovereign infrastructure, to ensure data sovereignty, we are now working on the state-owned infrastructure for the inference of public sector AI solutions and developing our own national LLM in partnership with the biggest Ukrainian telecom company. And talking about the AI strategy 2030, we've drafted our national AI strategy for the period of up to 2030. Our priority is to maximize AI adoption where it matters most, in the digital state or agentic state. We are switching to it. For services and in defense for national security. We focus on sectors that bring immediate social benefits. Sovereign and trustworthy AI. We aim for technological sovereignty. This means balancing the use of best global solutions with domestic production. I listened to the speeches earlier this morning, and I remember this is the point now that we need to find a right balance between domestic solutions and not to refuse everything which is produced globally. We are building secure, trustworthy AI that ensures our independence. We are prioritizing the development of foundations, high-quality data, robust infrastructure, like our AI factory, and most importantly, human capital. Thank you.
So from that perspective, Thomas, you also have a lot of experience in building, and we would like to hear more about the approach you have taken in your research projects, building conversational assistants to support public services, and how can administrations learn from it? What would be your recommendations on building a more reliable and trustworthy AI tools that help also governments work better internally?
Thank you. Yeah. So we have been working on how to digitalize business processes and legal decision support in the public sector for many years. And I would like to start with this dichotomy between doing things right and doing the right things. Of course, we want to do the right things right. So it's not either or, right? We don't want to do the right things wrong. And the problem with this agentic buzzword is that some people are trying to sell large language models as the ones that actually do the job. And that's problematic because we know that eventually they will take a wrong turn. So it's not an automation tool for doing processes, but it's a good translation tool. So we have just been granted a new project, 2.5 million euro from the Innovation Fund in Denmark, to work on digitalizing law into rule graphs. So we invented this dynamic condition response graph, which is an open format for both decision logic and temporal logic, which is suitable for actually domain experts to understand computational legal models. But it has been a bottleneck of creating these graphs. But now we have language technology, and this is what it's good for. We have also seen other presentations these 2 days that we can speed up the translation of all this legal text into rule graphs. Of course, only the part of a law where you can actually put it on a rule. If it's a human discretion, you should not put it on a rule. You should not put it into AI. But you can tell the human when to do these decisions and when and what data to gather. And then in the other end of the project, we also use language technology. And here we could actually follow a recent trend to use small language models, because we can use an interface to the rule model. And here we don't need a language model that can speak like Shakespeare or H.C. Andersen. We can use smaller, dedicated language models. And so we also have an effort in Denmark of making a Danish language model, and which could run locally with less power. And then don't use it for inferring the answer, just to find out what did the citizen ask for. So that's what we're working on right now. We just started half a year ago, and we have identified several interesting cases, and we are open for more cases also on a European level. Because of course it's not only a problem in Denmark. If you have a company who have employees around Europe, it would be nice to have some kind of conversational, reliable interface to the employment law across Europe. So right now we are looking at, for instance, the SU law, which is the support you can get as a student in Denmark for doing your studies. But of course also it could be environmental impact. Right now it takes 2 years to prepare an application for a new big construction, that could be windmills or power plants. That's too much, right? And so instead of weakening the law, we could actually use these tools to help people understand the law and speed up this processing. And then, of course, another big interesting thing is that instead of having these 2,000 self-service solutions where people are typing something in manually in web forms or sending a Word document, we could use these models to actually make APIs, so you can interact directly with the governmental sector, and you can build tools. That's an ecosystem for legal tech here. You can build tools that can help people do the reporting. So we don't need to postpone the reporting law. We could actually keep the environmental reporting, but make tools that can help you to do the reporting. So there's a lot of opportunities out there if we use AI to structure our law better and to implement the law in the places where it makes sense. And then we can have many kind of interfaces. We can have the chatbot, we can have the web form, and we can have the direct computer-to-computer interaction. And then finally, just remember that, of course, you need good data to make good AI, but it is not a causal implication. You don't get good AI just because you have good data. You also need to use the right AI, and you need to use it in the right place. So otherwise, we will lose this high trust we have right now in Europe and in Denmark, as we heard this morning, and get less efficient. And that's the last thing is that, yes, we should take risks, but not on the behalf of the citizens. Because we cannot choose another government, right? Or maybe we can, but we cannot choose another country. So we need to take risk, also sometimes stepping back and say we use something more reliable, but we use it in the right way.
Thank you, and it's quite interesting because it relates a lot. We work a lot on law as code. We have interoperability sandboxes that are coming, and we're trying to see how do we test all these new rules coming up, and how do we make sure that they work together with the systems they're supposed to do that. And indeed, we have AI, it's a tool, but it relies on data, and this is where Franck's works and his team's works come in, because how can you explain a bit more? You've mentioned the data portal, there are others, and what the Publications Office does in making the European public data AI ready. because this is quite core, and indeed, you can't build good AI without good data, and it starts there. So what are the best practices you see ensuring data is high quality and it's interoperable to support these AI-driven services?
Okay, so first of all, I'd like to also comment a bit doing the right things and doing things right. So of course, we always want to do things right, but the right things for me are really related to intention and impact, value added. And we really have now, it should be our mantra in public organizations, intention, impact, value added. So what does it mean for the publications office? Because we are in a specific, in a way, business, which is to make trustworthy, authoritative data accessible, findable to all players. So that's, for us, probably would be doing the right thing. First, we have to understand that we don't work in splendid isolation. We are in this business of making information accessible, so it means we have to understand the trends in the way information is consumed. So the way things are evolving and the way we put data at the disposal of others is not only us deciding, we also have to observe what's existing in other AI-driven services. And for instance, the zero-click search is something we have to take into account because this is also a channel for us. Of course, we, like what Thomas was just saying, we are very much working on machine-to-machine interactions. So when preparing for the intervention, I wrote, I'm a strong advocate or believer of machine-to-machine interactions. So that might sound funny here, but I can tell you, you still have to convince people that machine-to-machine is something which is of real value, and this is through that we are going to increase our impact. So machine-to-machine has a lot to do. So we are preparing our data for that. It means we have a constant work on ensuring quality and interoperability, so both together, and also delivering services or providing services for bulk download. So what do? We standardize. Maybe I will also reuse, when we talk about data, we have structured data, unstructured data. So we try to bring structure to unstructured data also with metadata. What do we do there? We use standardized formats. We use also existing code lists that, by the way, I'm inviting all of you to use as well because they are published. We have a site which is called European Vocabularies. So that's also to share assets. So that's one of the things we do. We are establishing or building APIs for these machine-to-machine interactions. We are also establishing, you mentioned knowledge graphs. We have Sparkule endpoints. We provide also bulk download facilities. So we do a lot so that data can be reused, including by AI bots and agents, which we now, I think we have understood and we have recognized that they became users in their own rights. So we have to take that into account. So that's the first thing. For years, we've been active in search engine optimization. What we observe is that the efforts we've made there are also useful for our data to be findable, accessible, including by AI agents. Maybe I should have started with this. We first of all allow AI bots to access the data because you could filter them. No, we do that. And we follow closely and we measure the potential impact. And we are constantly experimenting as well. So we are trying new approaches. You've probably learned about or heard about LLM TXT and MCP APIs. So we are also trying to experiment there. And there, that's maybe the key point. We need to be critical at all times. What I hear or what I have heard this morning is kind of wake-up call. So it's not, okay, we are among us, it's cool, it's well organized and all that, but there is a wake-up call. So we need to be self-critical, and we need, again, to be focusing on our strategic intentions, impact, value added.
Thank you, Franck. And on this, Gabriel, from your experience in Slovenia, and you had quite an ambitious strategy that is finishing this year on how to promote the development and use of AI. And what are the results now you're closing to the end of the strategy, and what are the next steps you want to take?
Yes, indeed, our national AI program is finishing this year, and that, of course, calls for a new program, which is currently under a public consultation phase, and it will be aimed at 2030. And we will include in this new program emphasis on Slovenia's technological and linguistic sovereignty, ensuring high-quality data, modern infrastructure, skills, innovation, and, of course, ethical and safe AI use across society. And, of course, that's a strategy. That's one tool. We also have a national AI law, which is implementing European AI Act. We designated national agency ACOS as the competent authority. And we also introduced a new obligation that we will have publicly published information about AI systems that are used in public sector, so to enhance transparency and trust. And we are, of course, working with businesses, academia. I will not go into detail about all of our activities, maybe just some concrete projects, pilots that are in progress right now. We are preparing a unified smart assistant for citizens to be able to communicate with our portals. And we are in a process of upgrade our document management system. In Slovenia, all public institutions of central government are using common system for document management, and we will introduce soon functionality for mail classification supported by AI and metadata recognition. Document will be able to be summarized, translated, and users in public administration will be able to talk with these documents and to extract some relevant data. And we think that will be very good, that with existing software we will all get new functionalities. And of course, we are working on other functionalities, for example, anonymization tools and a concrete analysis of all state IT contracts to detect anomalies and optimize costs. And we, of course, don't just work with pilots. We also have some useful existing systems which are benefiting from artificial intelligence, especially from machine learning. For example, our national data exchange platform, which was mentioned by our former minister before, uses machine learning to optimize data flow, and it works very well in practice. So it somehow smooths, neutralize spikes in traffic. So we have our data exchange platform utilized in a most efficient way. So if there is a demand, some tsunami of data inquiries, that can get spread in time, so data sources don't get all that tsunami in the same second. So it works very well in practice. But maybe just one additional comment. When we were designing this national data exchange platform, that was a few years ago when we designed our social security system, where we had to connect more than 50 data sources, some also in private sector, for example, banks. And all these data sources were very diverse, semantically diverse. And we achieved important savings by automatizing this data acquiring. The decision makers could have all the grounds for making decisions in very soon and without effort. But the processing is complex. If you received 50 packages of semantically diverse data, and we saw that semantic harmonization could bring even more savings. And of course, it's easy to say to semantically harmonize data sources, but it's more difficult to do it in practice because every data source has its own law, its own rules, and it's difficult to create a sense of urgency high enough for a law to be changed. That's difficult already in a national context, but we see on a cross-border context in Europe, for example, with SDG story, it's very difficult to harmonize all the evidences being exchanged throughout Europe. So I think we should use every possible opportunity to create common sense of urgency and speed up this project, because that can bring real savings.
Thank you, Tadej. And maybe we have questions on Slido, but I wanted to pick up on this, and I saw that Franck was quite reacting to what you were saying on making sense and having data that doesn't necessarily has the same meaning behind with the single digital gateway and elsewhere. You know that best. How do you manage? Do you see more use in harmonizing data, or in going with standards and having this more APIs in the middle? And
well, I mean, as I mentioned just before, I mentioned standardization. I mentioned also the use of some assets, data assets that are existing. So we should share and reuse. And I also mentioned API. So I would obviously more go into that direction clearly. But I mean, again, what I was trying to convey in the first intervention, what we see with AI is sorry to say just the next step and the next avatar in digital transformation. And the reason why we have the title of the conference SEMIC, it's semantic interoperability, because, okay, long time ago, the challenge was about semantic interoperability. It's still there to a large extent. So yes, I would definitely go for standardization efforts, and obviously we usually talk about standards, which is kind of paradox with the S, because if you have several standards, then you start having to map and all that stuff. But yes, standardization, APIs, definitely.
Thomas, please.
So now I have also been working in digitalization of business process for many years, and we know that it's impossible to ask an organization to follow one process, right? So I think we should, of course, have standards of how we interact, but we should also use these AI tools to. There was this brilliant presentation yesterday on the PwC analyzing the German law. So we could use the tools to actually learn, okay, what are the different words we're using? And then maybe we can take the next step as we do, also find out, okay, then which words are obligations, which ones are prohibitions? And then we can maybe even go to the Interoperability Act and say, okay, what are the obligations that are across Europe? And we can use AI to learn about this huge mess of regulation and guidelines we have out there. And I think that's a better use than trying to hope that we can enforce people to follow exactly the same interpretation, because we know that will not happen. But we can, and then we should remember to design for change, because we know we cannot fix the world. We know it will change. And that's another issue about these large language models. They're not designed for change. I mean, some people now say, oh, we can build modular models where we can change parameters. Well, we have billions of parameters. It's an illusion to think you can adapt a large language model by changing some parameters. So we should, that's another reason for why to combine the technologies stuff that really requires knowledge about the world, that needs to be updated, don't put it in a large language model. We could use the large language model for something where we are allowed to be a bit sloppy, like the natural language interaction, but not for the knowledge. So that's, I think, my main message. Let's use the right tools for the right problems.
And or like designing for change, because you're in an extremely volatile environment. Your digital systems need to cope with an immense amount of stress. How do you design for that change that's basically built in your system now?
Yeah, basically, during war, we have this approach: innovate or die. It's like maybe very straightforward, but this is the way we live, and now we have this ecosystem of digital transformation that we worked on last 6 years, and now we are rethinking a bit our approach because the importance of AI is growing, and we understand that there is no other way than to integrate this into our daily processes, because we face the challenges with the human capital and all of these things, and we just need to have it in place and to be as much effective as we can be. I completely agree with my colleagues that it's really important to understand the right data source that you are using for concrete solution, because any AI solution which is developed on the state level, this is something that is used by millions of people. So it's extremely important to bear this in mind. Yeah, thank you.
And today in Slovenia, you have, in the next steps you're going to take, where would you put your first priority? If you have a magic wand and the 10 billion and more that Francesco was mentioning this morning.
Well, if we could do magic, we would increase number of people that we have. We are a very small country, 2 million, and of course our public sector is also small, and even smaller teams working for government IT development, and of course we are limited by that. So we believe we could do more and faster with more people, but maybe AI is a way for multiplying us, to be able to do more with less effort. So we will definitely try to use every good opportunity and good practice that is out there to be able to multiply our capabilities for development, and also capabilities for interacting with public. Because like big countries, also small countries have to deliver all the public services that our citizens request. So we have to be competitive, that our taxpayers don't flee into other countries, so that they stay satisfied at home. But when we are talking about standardization and interoperability, again, one additional aspect. Today, we see different chatbots on different portals, and all these chatbots are mostly isolated, and that can be frustrating for end users, because they can talk with one chatbot in one way, with other chatbot in another way, and maybe we should invent some standardization and interoperability guidelines, how these chatbots should behave, that citizens don't get confused and frustrated. So another opportunity for interoperability of chatbots.
For sure, we have quite a lot. Is there any questions on Slido? Because we don't see them on the screen. If not, considering that we are quite reaching the end. Yeah.
I read a question on Slido, so there was one on the feedback loop.
Okay.
So how we are considering also using this digitalization of law to give feedback to the lawmakers. And of course, there was one example already yesterday with the identifying terms. Just being aware of that income is used already 10 different ways. You can make more harmonized laws nationally. We hope that we can then also take it a step further and say, okay, here are some patterns. So in Denmark, for instance, we have many laws that end up in self-service solutions. They are manually made, which is time-consuming and error-prone. So we hope that we can help make these automated self-service solutions from the law, but also feedback and say, hey, here are some patterns that could be reused, not only terms, but actually patterns of interaction with the public sector. So we could get also more equal interaction across the different legal domains. And then, of course, having the same kind of answers also comes from using a trusted source for the answers.
Clearly, I've tested a few times, and it really depends on the mood of the chatbot you're speaking with.
Yeah, but the point here is don't use the chatbot to give the answer. Only use it to try to understand the question. So you need to separate these two kinds of AI.
Clearly, and on this, I'm looking on good results on analyzing legislation, in particular where national law interact with the EU acquis. I know we've done a lot on this on our end because I've worked on the digital legislation, digital acquis management. I think in the publications office there was quite a lot of work into analyzing reporting obligations, and there was quite a lot of effort going with the AI tools to support how the Commission analyzes the law we have. It supported initially also the digital omnibus measures that went live last week. Part of the analysis coming from the EU acquis and the legislative acquis we have came from algorithms. Fundamentally, it was mostly that. I think it was more than just AI. It was basically analyzing text. Do we have good results?
Well, not yet. So far, we are focused on national law.
Yeah.
Now we are also broadening up to including Norwegian law. But of course, our aim is to aim for also European and the interaction between European and national law. And one example that we are considering in the current project is the GDPR, because this is an example of a law that everyone is interested in, and it has interactions with the local law.
Yeah. Well, okay, first of all, good results leaves quite a large room for interpretation. Indeed, we've done a lot to analyze the EU acquis in the context, as you explained, the context of simplification agenda and all that. I would say, yes, we do see good results. I mean, we can really, we have examples, concrete examples of providing support to DGs that want to analyze some specific domains of legislation. So it does work. I would also then like to support what you said. It's not only generative AI, by the way. It's combining different types of AI. So that does bring results. Can it be qualified good? Okay, that's left then to interpretation, but that's also related to what we heard this morning. We need to be purposeful. So it depends on the purpose. When it's related to simplification, do we provide a sufficient input for simplification to take place? Yes, then it's a good result. Maybe with a different purpose, it's not good enough. So that we also have to learn to be indeed purposeful. Again, intention, 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 intention.
I'm looking at the other questions on how citizens and administrations can have a say in the upcoming EU AI initiatives for the public sector. There are different ways. Well, we'll start for the Apply AI strategy. There's a public sector strand, and we'll have a webinar in beginning of December. This is just the start of a further reflection on how we're going to build a toolbox for the administration, for the public sector in particular. And it really depends. There are different ways you can feed in. There are always consultations when there is a legislative proposal. The goal here is not to go with more legislation, is to apply better and implement what we have, because that's the other challenge. We do have a lot of rules. We're trying now to simplify them and make them better work together, not deregulate, but really make it work. And this is the challenge we have now. We are reaching a level of maturity, and AI is an opportunity to make better also our own legislations. The law as code is something we're trying to aim at, and it's not easy because the interpretation margin there is still quite wide, the interplay between rules. And I think you've seen, I don't know, I'm sure that in Slovenia and Ukraine now you have to implement the EU acquis. How do you manage the complex ecosystem you're in front of when you get so much legislation to implement at once, at the same time? How do you manage those interplays?
Yeah, actually, yeah, that's true that we are on the other side of this EU integration process, and we face pretty similar challenges, but from different perspective. As I mentioned, we have developed the AI-enabled tool, which helps us to solve very practical thing. We need to form a lot of tables of correspondence of our national legislation to EU acquis, and actually we made this with AI. So basically how it works, we just upload the national legislation database and EU acquis, and then we just ask the AI to build the table and to show where is the relevant norm provision in Ukrainian legislation to the EU acquis, where we have the gap, and what should we add in order to fully correspond to the European legislation. So this is a very practical case, and it already works in demo testing in our ministry, but we want to scale this for the full like government, all the institutions, because all the ministries need to work with this, and this is something that really helps to save a lot of time, because people used to, we did some interviews with the professionals who work with this, and people used to do this manually. It took like months if the law is really comprehensive, but now it like just hours. And of course, we need to evaluate human in the loop, the main principle, but this is something that boosts at the beginning this process, and then professional needs just to check, and that's it.
Do you have something similar in Slovenia?
No, we are on the other side, so we are faced with EU legislation gradually, one by one. So for each legislation, we try to cover it as much as possible. Of course, a small country, again, we have to participate in all the boards and all the expert groups, and mostly these are the same people participating in these boards. So it can get interesting to combine all these laws in same head. So that can be some challenging to converge all these different views in the same head. So we are doing it in a classical way currently.
So not really interoperable.
Without AI currently.
It's challenging to do it by hand. I did run through the process myself on digital regulations. It's not easy. Yeah. And AI, yeah, it would be fantastic to have it.
Yeah, once we test, we will share it with you.
We're happy to see it. It could be part of the toolbox.
Yeah.
And we have around 5 minutes left. And any other questions you want to pick up from the panelists, from what you see? Please.
No, maybe just because I think it echoes a bit what was just said. The second question here: how do we take into account the dynamic nature of law? Yeah. So first of all, I think we have to accept that things cannot be perfect, and we need to move. Again, that's what I keep on hearing. We need to move. So if we wait until we have the perfect system, we will never move. So let's move first. So we are aware, of course, that when you have to analyze law, you also have to take into account the case law, and that it adds another level of complexity. But in a way, what we hear is that AI can be a booster, but human still has a place and still a role to play. So that might also be something we need to remember. It's the combination of the two. We heard a lot about augmented. It's not about replacing people; it's about augmenting. Okay, that's an area where AI can boost, augment, but fortunately, humans still have a role to play.
For sure, please.
Yeah, and concretely how we do it in our work is that instead of putting the law into code or putting into a large language model that cannot be changed, we put it into a rule graph. And this rule graph can be translated or understood by domain experts. So we can see what are the interpretations that we have coded, and then they can be changed. And we can actually trace back from the rule graph to the particular parts of the law. So in that way, we get this back and forth traceability. Because we know that the law will change. We also know that the current interpretation will change, even though the text is the same. So that's why it's so important not to put the law into either code or to a neural network where we even don't know where the individual rules are located. So that's how we deal with it. And then how to avoid unethical use. Well, of course, AI literacy is very important. I've been working in the Danish standards group, making these standards for the AI coming, and that's even a requirement in the AI Act. So people knowing when to use it and when not to use it and how to use it. There have been a lot of failed AI projects also in Denmark because we had a lot of good intentions, but we did not enforce that it was actually used in the right way. And sometimes we forgot to ask the stakeholders, is this the right problem? So I think that's one of the key points. And we also made some public available specifications about exactly stakeholder involvement. But of course, that's not enough to talk. You also need to actually do it. And then remember that if you make something that the IT provider doesn't even take responsibility for, you should not give it in the hands of the caseworker, because that's not fair. I mean, they need to do their job fast, but if no one wants to take the responsibility, it's put on them. And that's not a fair way of using technology.
Oleh, some last takeaways before we close the panel?
Yeah, it's I think really valuable to exchange with the experience, because I think that it's such a fast developing sphere that you just can't take into account everything which is new. And on the level of practical implementation, I believe there are really different options how you can proceed. And it's really valuable to have these discussions, to exchange the experience, to connect with each other, and to proceed with cooperation further, with exchange of not just thoughts, but with even concrete solutions. Maybe that will be the case between Ukraine and the European Commission.
For sure, this is what we're working on. So thank you so much. Thank you all. It was extremely interesting. I hope we'll be able to continue these conversations also in parallel. Thank you for being with us for the beginning of the afternoon. And I think we have a break, Sasha?
We do. Yeah, thank you so much to all our panelists. That was brilliant.